Hey everyone, S to the Q to the U to the double E here. Welcome to another Thoughts Behind the Wheel. I have a topic today. Really, I do. Actually, I've started the Metal Gear saga. Yay! So excited about that. I actually played for like 7 or 8 hours straight this past weekend because I forgot how much I love that game. Anyway, there was a question on one of them. The game series, if you don't know what it is, it deals heavily with the life of a soldier, what it means to be a soldier, what it means to change sides or be on this side or that side, and betrayal and defections and all that good stuff. And the basic premise of the game is that I'm playing Snake Eater, the third one. You were trained by a mentor you call the boss. They're a super soldier, basically, and they taught you everything you know, and they're almost like a parent figure to you when it comes to being a soldier. And you find out very, very early that they defect. They went to the bad guy's side. And the game deals with a bunch of issues like, well, he's now sent to go kill her, but, you know, she taught him everything he knew. She's like a mom to him kind of thing. And he's having trouble dealing with this. And she asks him a very important question. She says, you know, what it'll be. Will it be loyalty to the unit or loyalty to me? Loyalty to your country or to your mentor? You know, are you a soldier with your own mind, or are you simply a tool for the government, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera? And Sergeant Dan, one of my viewers, said that these were really deep questions, and he'd be curious to know what I thought of them, being an ex-soldier myself. So I thought, even while I don't normally take requests for Thoughts Behind the Wheel, this one piqued my curiosity, and so I shall discuss it. However, you should know, this is not an easy question to answer by any means. It is a rather difficult question to answer. It's exactly the opposite of easy. It's hard, because these are not simple situations and simple ideas, and to boil it down to the I think it's wrong or I think it's right is to oversimplify. So, how do I feel in the situation? Well, now let's say, for example, let's try and set some ground rules, because this is a really hard task to lay down. So, let's understand the question. How do I feel about being a soldier? Do I feel what is the most important part of a soldier? My personal feelings, my personal point of view, and my personal beliefs, or those of the country I've sworn to help? In other words, if a country I've sworn to help asks me to do something that is against my morals or my beliefs, etc., would I still do it? Would I defect to another country? Would I see that as a betrayal? And what is a soldier exactly? And this is a hard question to answer. Most people, especially people who have never been a soldier, and this isn't a knock against anyone. You'll see what I'm saying when I get there, but most people, especially people who haven't been soldiers, would immediately say, well, my beliefs come first. And if my country doesn't follow my beliefs, then it's time to, you got to stay true to yourself. You got to be able to do, stay true to your own feelings, and damn the country if it doesn't agree. And that you're not supposed to just be a tool for the government and blindly follow and not think about your actions, etc., etc. Now, having been a soldier, I have a slightly different take on that. Most people would say blind faith is a bad thing. In war, blind faith can sometimes save your life. And the military promotes blind faith. Not blind faith. I wouldn't say blind faith. Blind faith is going a bit overboard. But faith in your leaders, strong faith, let's go with that, in your leaders, is promoted in the military. Why? Well, here's the deal. As a soldier, as a grunt, as a lowly plebe, you don't know the whole picture. You don't see what's going on. You can't see the forest through the trees, so to speak. All you can see is the people on the ground shooting at you. You have no idea how the entire battle is going on. You have no idea who's winning or who's losing. You have no idea how the war itself is going. All you know is what's happening right in front of you. And without knowing the whole picture, without having the whole picture, you can't necessarily make a proper judgment call. And therefore, you have to rely upon your leaders, your superiors, to make that judgment call for you in the hopes that they can see the whole picture. Let me give you an example of what I'm talking about. Very simple example. Let's say you are in a foxhole. A foxhole is a hole dug in the ground for you and your men to basically take cover in. Use a fortification. You're in the ground. It's really hard for things to hit you. Grenades, unless they fall into the hole with you, are pretty much ineffective. You can have sandbags, etc., etc. It's a defensive position, and it's a fairly safe one. Now, you're getting shot at by the enemy, and they have a heavy force, and they are laying down a lot of fire on you, and that foxhole is pretty much the only thing saving your lives. And if you were to get out of that foxhole, it would be almost certain death. A lot of you would get shot. Now, your lieutenant, who has the radio comm, just got word that the enemy is about to unleash a mortar attack, which is basically, mortars are shells that you put in a little tube and it goes thunk, and it lobs high up in the sky and falls down with very high accuracy on a certain location. And when I say very high accuracy, I mean within meters or less, depending on how good the mortar team is. They get a call that they're about to fire mortars on you. Now, this is very, very bad because they know your exact location, and if they fire enough mortars and they're good enough at it, they can drop the mortars literally in your foxhole and kill everyone inside. And your lieutenant has to make the call of, okay, well, what do we do? Do we stay in this now death trap, or do we jump out and risk the fire and try and get to another location? Most likely, the lieutenant would tell you to jump out of the foxhole and try and find a different location, because the truth is, to try and stay there is almost certain death. And while getting out of the foxhole is also very, very risky, it's a lot better chance of survival than staying in the foxhole. At least some people will survive. It's a very hard choice that your lieutenant has to make. Now, you, as a grunt, not being the lieutenant, not being near the radio, have no way of knowing that there's a mortar round coming. And he doesn't have time to explain this to you. You have literally seconds to react. You have to have enough faith in your lieutenant to know that when he tells you to do something that looks like suicide, that he is really trying to save your life, or save as many people's lives as possible. You have to have enough faith in his command ability to be able to do what he says without question, despite what you see or what you perceive. And this is a really hard thing to build up, and this takes months and years to drill into someone. And the theory is that soldiers have such a belief in their superior officers that if a lieutenant, or let's say a captain, that you've never met before, tells you to do something that sounds completely ludicrous to you in the middle of combat, you would do it. Because you have faith that if he is a captain, he knows. Now, in practice, this doesn't happen, but this is the theory. This is what the military is striving for. And there is, like I just demonstrated, there is a really good reason for it. That you can't see the whole picture. They can. And even if they're telling you, look, war is all about death. It is about murder. It is about mayhem and destruction. And in situations like this, you have to make extremely difficult choices where people will die. And those people who are dying are not going to want to. And they're definitely not going to be able to see the whole picture. So the military has to try and foster a sort of faith in the superior officer that if he tells you to do something, even if it looks crazy, you will do it because you have faith that they are going to save the highest number of people possible and achieve victory. Now, like I said, in practice, it doesn't really work. Were there people in the Army, when I was in the Army, were there superior officers that I did have that level of faith in? You better believe it. there were NCOs and officers who I would have done whatever they told me to, no matter how crazy it sounded, because I really did have faith in them. They knew their stuff. They demonstrated time and time again they knew their stuff, and that they cared about us and respected us, and et cetera, et cetera. And there were people that I would have jumped on a grenade for. Luckily, that never even came close to having to be reality, but I would have done it. Now, with that mentality, let's go back to the original question. Do I think my personal beliefs take precedent over a mission, even if the mission may, go against my personal beliefs? Well, that's a hard question to answer now. I'm just a grunt. I'm on the mission. I don't have the whole picture. Let's say they tell me to shoot a child. That's horrible. That is a horrible, horrible thing to ever command someone to do. What if you have information that that child is carrying a loaded grenade that is about to go off and kill 10 people? What do you do? Well, as an officer, you have to play the numbers. You have to go, look, it's a kid, and that's a horrible, horrible thing, but he's about to kill 10 of my men. And this soldier is the only one in a position to stop him. I'm going to order this soldier to stop him. Now, as a soldier, what do? You don't know what's going on. You don't know that this kid is carrying a grenade. All you know is that your superior officer told you to shoot a kid. What do? Do you shoot the kid? Do you go against your very strict morals of, I don't kill children? Or do you have faith in your commander that if he is ordering you to shoot a child, there is a damn good reason for it? I don't know. I honestly don't know. It depends on who gave the order. Honestly, it would depend on who gave the order. If an NCO that I respected and that I knew and that I would follow into hell with, and there were some, told me to do it, I would do it. As horrible as that sounds, because I had enough faith that he was doing it for a reason. Now, I probably wouldn't be able to live with myself afterwards. I'd probably need quite a bit of counseling, and I'd probably be 60 years old and still having dreams of shooting a kid, and that'd be very, very horrible. But I would at least have faith that I did the right thing. So to me, it kind of comes down to who's giving the order. Now, let's go to a more broader topic. Defecting to, say, like what Big Boss did, defecting to Russia because maybe her country no longer followed her ideals. Well, there is a difference between one order, one action that you may not understand, and a series of orders or actions that you cannot comprehend. One order, shoot this kid. If you have faith in your government, or your superiors, let's not even say government wouldn't really have much to do with that, in your superiors, you might do it because you have faith that your superiors are doing what's best for you. However, if you are consistently being told to do things that go against your morals, that's not really your superior officers. That is a higher point of view that does not mesh with yours. In other words, that is your government or your high-ups pursuing a policy that you do not agree with. And that's different. It's a subtle difference, but it's a big one. It's the difference between shoot this child because he has a grenade and we want you to kill all children in case they have grenades. Those are very different topics and very different things. And as a soldier, it can be really hard to know when to draw the line between the two. And I hope you guys are understanding the difference here. The difference between being told to shoot one kid because he has a grenade, or even because there's a high chance he has a grenade, and pursuing a policy of shooting all kids because they may carry grenades. There is a huge difference here. And one where I draw the line at, and where most soldiers draw the line at. So you can't be... Soldiers are not mindless machines, most of them. They have faith in their superiors that in an instance of extreme stress, duration, danger, that they will do whatever that superior tells them to do because they have faith that the superior will lead them through, no matter how crazy it may seem. However, A soldier, a common soldier, an average soldier can tell the difference between that and when his country is telling him to do things that he does not agree with. And in that case, I think maybe it's time to change something. Change sides? I don't know. I mean, I don't know if I would defect. I don't know if I would hurt my country's efforts. But I might be a conscientious objector. I might be a deserter. And you have to understand what it means to say that. Anyone who's been a soldier, if you have ever been in the military, any military, you can back me up on this. To say that I might be a deserter is a huge thing. Desertion is like the worst thing a soldier can do. To leave one's post, to abandon, to go AWOL. It is still considered treason. And in times of war, you can be shot for it by your superior officers. This has never changed. This is still accurate and true. Now, does it happen? No. But it could. Depending on the severity of the desertion. So to say that I might desert in a situation like that is a huge thing for a soldier or an ex-soldier to say. But if I go, let's say I get deployed to, let's throw up a scenario. I get deployed to Iraq, and I find that my country is now pursuing a policy of shooting all children on sight because there's been a rash of children carrying grenades. I'm not going to do that. If I have reasonable assurance that this one child is about to blow us all up, I might do something. If my superior tells me, shoot that kid, and I trust the superior, I might do something. But if I have standing orders to shoot all children on sight, no, I'm not going to do that. I could never justify that, ever, to myself. I can't. And so then, what then? What do? You don't have many options. You desert, you become a conscientious objector, you refuse orders. Most likely what I would do is I would refuse orders and I would be court-martialed. And I'd take my lumps. I mean, honestly, in a situation like that, most likely you might be dishonorably discharged or put in jail for a year or two, and that would be the end of it. And I would do that. But what if it was more extreme? What if it was, you follow orders or you'll be imprisoned for 20 years? And that's not an unlikely scenario. I'm not going to go the extreme way of you follow orders, I will shoot you in the face, because that's rather unlikely. But let's say that. Let's say that you follow orders or you will be tried for treason and go to jail for 20 years. Well, I'm not going to follow these orders. And I'm sure as hell not going to go to jail for 20 years just because some bureaucrat told me to shoot kids. I'm going to desert. I'm going to pack up and I'm going to find a way to get out of there, because that army is no longer something I want to fight for. That army is following policies that I no longer agree with as a human being. And I refuse to spend my life furthering that cause. I won't defect. I won't hurt my country because I love my country. And to defect is not just to leave the army. It is to help the enemy kill your fellow soldiers. That's what you do when you defect, and I would never do that. Now, I could not ever imagine myself doing that. It would take extreme measures. It would take, let's say America goes crazy and starts taking over countries just because they can. Let's say America just starts running into South America and conquering territories just because they feel like they can, and being horribly brutal to the civilian populace there, and committing horrible atrocities with the sanctions of the government, and murdering whole villages, and just basically being a dick. You know what? If I was a soldier, I might consider defecting to, say, South America and helping to protect the innocents there from this. But I have enough faith in my country that they're not just going to start doing that. And I know some people are saying, whatever, Americans are doing it all the time. No, they're not. Americans are not. America is not that bad. America may do things sometimes that seems harsh to people, but they are doing it out of certain points of views and certain interests. And yes, I'm not saying that America hasn't committed atrocities or that America hasn't done bad things. Everyone's done bad things. There is no country that exists today that did not get there by stepping on someone else's toes. Period. That's the way it works. Rebellions, uprisings, conquests, every country that survives today did so at the cost of another country. So there's no such thing as a country out there that hasn't committed some sort of atrocity at some point in time. But anyway, so I think that kind of answers my points of view on the question. If I was in Snake's point of view, I don't know. That situation's crazy. I would probably do what Snake's doing because I would love the boss. I would sympathize, I guess, a little bit with the boss. I would. Now, and understand, we haven't gotten to the end of the game, and there's a lot more developments, but I'm not talking about those or taking those into consideration because those would be considered spoilers. But from what we know right now, the boss has defected to Russia, and she brought with her nukes, and those nukes were used to nuke Russia, and that's really bad, and they have more, and they've threatened to use them. I would stop the boss. Why? Okay, she may have her reasons, and that's fine, but she's going to start World War III. No, it's time for her to go. I'm sorry. I've got to find some way to take her judo-loving butt out. So, I mean, when it comes to stopping Armageddon, yeah, the choice is fairly clear. So anyway, everyone, that's my response, and it's been a rather long session of Thoughts Behind the Wheel. So anyway, I will see you all later, and take care. Ta-ta.